Welcome back to another episode of Inside Boxing Live. I am Dan Canobio. He is the former world champion, Chris Algieri, and we're still living in this post-Haney-Lomachenko world. What a fight. You were there, Chris. We did our breakdown. First of all, how you doing? Let me ask you how you doing.
I'm doing good. Finally got some sleep last night. Taking red eye home is pretty rough. Takes a couple days to recover, but I'm back.
He's back. He's ready to go. You watched the fight again. And what are some takeaways you had from the second watch? I haven't watched it again.
Number one takeaway, this was an excellent fight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, the first time around. I enjoyed it even more the second time, where I could really just hone in and watch what each man was doing, because both men had a game plan. They both executed, and it was just such a tightly contested bout, man. That's why we have so many discussions going on right now, and why everyone thinks this guy won or that guy won. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a phenomenal fight, and I think this is going to be one of those fights for the ages that is always going to be discussed. It's always going to be argued, and people are going to have points on both sides. But listen, if we can really just, from a purist perspective, look at this fight for what it is, it's a great fight.
Yes.
It's a really, really good fight. And I think that we need to talk more about that rather than who won or why did this happen, why did that happen. I mean, it's a great fight.
This is how it goes, man. You get very in the moment. You get so heated. Like the first 48 hours, discuss the scorecards, discuss the robbery, discuss everything you got to discuss, but then move on. Like start to come down a little bit. And when I'm coming down a little bit from it too, and all I'm thinking is, you know what? Very good fight. These are the types of fights that make boxing go round and round. Like we still argue Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard. I'm not saying this fight is up on that level, but this fight is going to be debated for 20, 30 years from now because they're two really big names. It was that good of a fight. Hopefully the conversation moves away from the bad scorecards, away from the robbery and all that, towards, wow, awesome fight in the lightweight division. The lightweight division's on fire. Boxing's on fire, and we go on with that. One other thing, too, Chris. Devin Haney's catching a lot of flack, and none of his own doing. Like, he went in there, and he did his job, and he tried to win a fight, and he got his hand raised. But I think it's time to give him a little bit of credit here. We're talking about a guy who's 24 years old. He's doing what everyone wants fighters to do today. What is the biggest criticism of today's generation of fighters? They don't fight anybody. They barely fight. They don't challenge themselves. This is a guy who went twice to Kambosos' backyard. The whole narrative where he took less money. He wins the undisputed 135-pound belts. A lot of guys don't defend their undisputed belts. What does he do? He defends it against Vasily Lomachenko, gets the controversial win. Go even back. He's fought Jojo Diaz. He's fought Jorge Linares. He's building a very nice resume for a guy that's 24 years old. He's doing it right now. So shout out to Devin Haney. I know he's catching a lot of flack, but I really feel like compared to his contemporaries, he's putting together a nice little resume for himself.
No, there's no question about it. I mean, and that was another thing I noticed was watching the fight. The strategy that he employed, it was very different than what he's done in the past. It was utterly surprising to me. He's known as a jabber. He didn't fight like that. He fought like a puncher and a counter puncher. And listen, I was in the room. I mean, the punches he was throwing, he was throwing the much harder, more dangerous punches all night long, which is one of the reasons why, the fight was fought the way that it was fought. But yeah, no, the kid is, and I say kid because he's 24. I fully respect him and everything he's doing, but man, unbelievable to be that young, to be that sharp, and being 12 rounds with a guy like Lomachenko, who used to be no Moschenko, right? He used to totally befuddle guys and make them quit.
Those days are over.
And those days are over, but doesn't matter. Haney, was on the brink, in this fight and was able to pull it out. And I mean, to him be able to show that at this level, at that age, dude, I mean, incredible stuff. And someone that is still developing. Like, he was working on things out there. I said it during the telecast, there were things that he was obviously working on in the gym. He brought it into a fight against someone of that caliber. That is utterly, highly, highly impressive to do that. And it's, it just speaks to the fact that he's not sitting on his laurels. He's trying to get better.
He's trying to get better. He's trying to change up his style too. The biggest criticism on him was like clinch, jab, clinch. Didn't really do any of that on Saturday night. People say he's boring. He goes, all right, I'm going to just throw body shots and I'm going to throw power punches and I'm not going to sit behind my jab. We talked about this in the last episode. Was it the greatest game plan? No. Did it come back to bite him in the ass? No, because he got his hand raised. But I don't know if he'll fight like that at 140. I think he'll go back to jabbing.
I think he needs to mix the two of them.
Yes.
I honestly loved what I saw from him, the things that he did. But like I said, I think on the last show, he just stood within range a little too much after doing really good stuff. And then I think if he is able to mix this combination of this position where he fights like a power counterpuncher, but then goes into the jab in between, he's going to completely shut down anything that anybody can do. And he's really going to escalate and elevate himself. And I think, yeah, that's a very dangerous man if he can mix those two styles that he's shown to be able to do at the highest level.
From the fighting side of things, I think we got it down what he needs to be successful and continue his reign, whether it's at 135 or jump up to 140. From a markability side, I think he should lean into the villain role. Like we saw on Friday with the shove. That was like dipping his toes in the water, and it got a great response. It probably got the biggest response of anything he's done in his career because it showed some personality. I feel like Haney is kind of in between. Am I a good guy? Do I want to be a villain? You looked at the crowd on Saturday night. You were in there. About 70% for Lomachenko. And we're in Las Vegas, where Haney's hometown. He's not really known as a ticket seller. I think he should lean into the villain role. Boxing needs the villain. I mean, look what Floyd Mayweather did. He needs to just accept it, because even on Instagram, he said, undisputed villain. Really lean into it and just start talking shit about everybody, call everybody out, scorched earth, go fully into it and see what that can do for you.
Well, it's the Floyd Mayweather game plan. It's exactly what he used to. He used to be Pretty Boy Floyd, and then he switched over to Money Mayweather, and he became the heel. And that's where the money really went up. That's when the everyone wanted to tune in. And Floyd knew it. As he moved up in weight classes, he wasn't going to be the same kind of puncher he was down at 130, 135. Once he got into the 40s and the 47s, those guys are big. His power wasn't going to be the same. He knew that he needed to make an adjustment in order to get eyes and people interested. So he became the heel. Now you're not tuning in to watch me knock somebody out. You're tuning in to watch me lose. And Floyd did that brilliantly. And like you said, Haney looks to be making himself the heel now and leaning into that persona. Will it work out the same way it did for Floyd?
Well, you got to win. That's the thing.
It's not. Yeah. Well, you got to win. But listen, if he keeps fighting like this, I mean, and keeps progressing the way he is, like you said, he's 24. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Like the pace he's on, the pace the sport is on right now. It's like, wait a second. Everyone's kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop. The boxing fans. It's like, could he go right into a Shakur fight? Could he go right into a T.O. Taylor winner? Can he go right into a Tank fight? Can we really get all these huge fights in like an 18-month to a 2-year span by the time he's 25? Like, boxing fans are programmed to not think that's possible, but it very well could happen.
Yeah, but he might need the mental break. I mean, having this kind of fight at this level, training camps are hard. Training camps take a lot out of you. The amount of sacrifice that you make for months and months at a time. And I know Devin lives the life, and he has for pretty much his whole life. I remember Devin in the gym at 11 years old when I was sparring in Las Vegas, and he was literally ringside and knew him and his father for over a decade. So he's earned a little bit of a rest, or maybe even not such a huge fight.
What does that a rest mean though? Because I put together a list yesterday. Take some time, yeah, of course. Take your 6 months, which all the fighters seem to do, or even longer. But like if he stays at 135, there's Shakur and there's Tank. But there's also, he has all 4 belts. There's mandatories out there. There's the IBF is up next, according to our friend Jake Donovan, who's really on top of these things. Gustavo Lemos. Are you familiar with him? No. He's an Argentinian. He's your country folk. He is, is that even a term? Countryman. One of those per episode. Country folk. He is undefeated. He's a puncher, but that would be technically like taking a breather, I feel like, for Haney if he stays at 135. Obviously, that's the low end of the spectrum in terms of sexiest moves for Haney moving up. Also, there's Tank. There's Shakur. There's the winner of
Zepeda.
Zepeda. Yeah, there are other names at 140. He doesn't have to jump right into a T.O. Taylor winner. There are ways.
I'm sorry. I was talking about 35.
William Zepeda.
Zepeda, yeah, William Zepeda.
Right, it's Pitbull Cruz, there's Keyshawn Davis, there's Frank Martin. I don't think he's going to fight any of those guys. It's interesting because there's so many ways that Haney can go. Like, I don't know his deal with Top Rank. Will he go to 140? Will he stay at 135? He has said the biggest fights are at 135 for me. I'll stick around and build the legacy here and then worry about the other fights down the road. What do you think he'll do next?
I mean, I can't imagine he's going to stay at 35 for anything other than those massive fights, whether they're Tank or Shakur or a rematch with Loma. I personally think he should fight Loma again.
Why is the rematch not even being discussed?
I don't know. Bill did that interview afterwards, which was an awesome interview. I just the fact that he said that the fight didn't deserve because it wasn't close. That's I mean, he has to say that. It's his son.
Yeah, Haney
sure.
also said
But
I'm pound for pound #1 right now. We know that's not true.
yeah, I mean, people say a lot of things in interviews, and a lot of it is, it's
Especially in
sound
the
bites
moment.
and whatever. But I think he should fight Loma again. I think with some of the technical adjustments that we actually just spoke about, I think he can actually win the fight make it much more clear cut. He could have made it very clear cut that night, by making some of those adjustments, but he didn't. But it's the first time you fight somebody like that, and we've seen Haney in rematches. He's very good at executing game plans and learning things during a fight. So was Loma, but at Loma at 35, can he muster up another performance like he did on Saturday night? I got asked right before the fight started, is Loma still that guy? And I said, yeah, I think he's as good as ever. But I don't know if that's going to be enough. And that's exactly what happened.
Probably the only fight he's going to get up for again would be a 130, a rematch right into it. Yeah. I don't think he's going down to 130. I see a lot of tweets about that. First of all, he's 35. It's really hard to make that weight, number one. Number two, it's like, what are you going to do?
Is it for him?
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just using the old adage, like you get up there in age, it's harder to lose weight. You would know better than I would.
I just think he's just fighting at an escalated, a heavier weight than he needs to. He does not look like a 35-pounder. These guys are big. All of them. I mean, Tank, not so much. He's a shorter guy too. There's only so much you can pack on a frame without being too bulky. But Loma's just he's not the same size as these guys. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of it is pride that he chooses to fight at 35. There's also money because those are the biggest fights possible. But I feel like he can go back down to 30 and probably dominate there as well.
You know what's interesting? If he says, I beat Haney in my mind, fans think so, majority of fans think so, I should just fight Shakur then. Because Shakur's next up, and like they won't bill it as a title fight, but they can be like, all right, these are two of the best. I could see that happening. I could see like I think it would be more of a rematch talk if Haney was solidified with Top Rank, because I think Bob would push for it. It might have been worked into the contract. He's on the third fight of his deal.
Would be an easier fight to make. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot's gonna be happening with Devin Haney and all these weights. Let me put you on the spot here, Chris. Rank these lightweights 1 through 4. Haney, Loma, Shakur, Tank.
So tough. I mean, I got Shakur's number 1, and I've been adamant about that. I know it's kind of early to say that, but I just think stylistically, I think what he brings to the table, I think he's that guy. I think he's going to be the future of these divisions. I just have a feeling that he really is the man to beat. Now here's where it gets tricky, right? Because Haney just beat Loma very, very closely. And you can argue that as much as you want. It's almost like it's hard not to have them almost tied, but Haney slightly ahead, but it could almost be a tie depending on how it goes in the future. But I don't see them, if they were to fight again, I think it would be different. I think Haney would be a little more clear cut in his decision. Now, can Haney beat Tank? And I know a lot of people out there saying like, based on the things, he's be able to get hit with some of those straight left hands from Loma. If Tank hits him, it's going to be a big problem. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I think Tank beats him pretty easily.
We're seeing Haney's progression, though. He's getting better.
Yeah, but he got hit with a lot of. I know we're giving Haney his flowers here, but he did get hit with a lot of shots, and he did gas late. So you have Tank last?
He came back in the 12th.
Would you have Loma third or Tank third?
No, I would have.
Go your list. Shakur number 1.
I did this the other day, and I went Shakur, Tank, Haney, and Loma 4.
That's pretty good.
That's how I did. And initially, when that first came up, when someone said that to me, I said that right off the bat. But now, after watching the fight again and seeing some of the things that Haney was doing, I was like, ooh, this guy is getting better.
If you go by skills, I mean, it's hard to not put Tank 1. It's hard also not to put Shakur 1. It's hard not to put Haney 1. All these guys are so skilled. And if you go by status, Haney has to be 1. Tank has to be 2 because the blockbuster capabilities he has, and then Shakur third because he has.
Yeah, he's still early.
Still starting to sell tickets, and then Loma 4th just by the default. I don't know, man. This is a fun time. This reminds me of the '80s. I was 7, but this reminds me of like what we've learned from those past eras. Like I think they can all fight each other. I actually feel pretty optimistic about them all fighting each other. It's crazy, and Devin Haney needs a lot of credit for that too, for like kind of starting this off. Like someone had to start it, and him fighting Kambosos, and then him fighting Lomachenko, and now I think everyone is all positioned, if they can all play nice, to really get it going and really bring boxing to the next level. Because I think right now boxing is like mainstream wise, people are interested in these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ronnie's shaking his head
for a good reason.
Yes.
They're young. They're young. That's something we've missed. We've seen a lot of the mega fights happen now with guys when they're in their mid-30s, and like that's a shame. Like we talk about Floyd Pacquiao. We're now looking at Spence Crawford, and these guys are approaching 35. It's not like it was. Like you said, the 80s. These guys were all fighting in the early 20s, and now we're seeing that with this group. It's kind of a shame. I wish Teofimo was still at 35 and could be in the mix with these guys.
Well, they might all go up to 140
on him during those days, but
so do I thought he was number one. I thought he was going to be the best.
I did too.
Let's quickly get onto the scorecards. I don't want to spend too much time on it because nothing's going to change, and the fight has been scored and it's over with. But I did find it interesting that the judges were only on the same page for 5 of the 12 rounds.
That tells you how tightly contested each and every round was.
Dave Moretti scored 5 of the last 6 for Haney. Cheatham scored 4 of the last 6 for Haney. Sutherland had it 3, the final 6 rounds.
Wait, 5 of the last 6 for Haney?
Moretti.
Wow.
Excluding the 10th round, which is just deplorable. I don't understand how he came up with that. That's just wrong on Dave Moretti's part, and it leads me to look up Dave Moretti. I did some research. Guy's pushing 70. Been a judge since 1977. Larry Holmes was the heavyweight champ. No one in this room was born yet. We talked last week about old referees. How about old judges who actually play a bigger role in the sport because they're actually picking the winner and the loser of these fights? Like Dave Moretti should not be judging anymore. It's insane.
5 of the last 6 for Haney that's a really bad stat. And Loma did amazing work in the second half of the fight. I gave Haney the 12th round. The 11th round was huge for Loma. He was really coming on in 10, 11. Although even the last minute of the 11th round, he took off. And there were a lot of spurts when Lomachenko took off, and I think that's why he left the door open to lose a lot of the close rounds because he didn't fight the full 3 minutes, which we often see with guys when they're on the other side of 35. Really, when they're on the other side of 32, that's usually when guys start to decline in their abilities.
I haven't started declining yet.
Yeah, you're still sharp.
You see that grand slam in the warehouse? Anyway,
I didn't, but
you should. Come on, bro. You're supposed to be I'll
check it out. I was too busy watching fights, man. I'm sorry.
You're like my friend that's a pro athlete. So whenever I do something cool athletically, I send it to you.
Yeah, but I mean, you do it in a something that's not even a sport.
A dusty warehouse in Jersey City. It's a sport to me. Damn it! You bring up
is it wiffle ball game?
Blitzball.
Blitzball.
You bring up 30s. That's interesting for fighters. How about the age of umpires, the age of referees, the age of judges? What's their prime? Jared Diamond, who's a baseball writer, wrote this story or did a study, and Luke Thomas retweeted it. That's how I saw it. The average umpire is almost 50. The best ones are in their 30s. A study found that umpires who missed the most ball strike calls had more than 20 years of experience, while the best umpires average just 6 years on the job. Just told you, Dave Moretti has 40 years of experience. 70 years old. And he's just one of many judges that are up in that age bracket. Not a lot of young judges walking in there. It's a problem. It's a big problem. More than corruption, where you could just be like, corruption, and you can't prove it. It's incompetence. And it's being just simply too old. Like, sorry.
Yeah, even, with that 10th round, that's deplorable, like you said. But even if he does score that correctly for Loma, he still has Haney winning the fight because he had him up by two rounds or 4 points. So that's something for people at home. So it's a swing. So if one guy wins a round, then if the other guy wins a round, that's a 2-point swing because you get the point for the round and the other guy loses the point. Yes. So it's like it goes both ways. So people forget that they're 4 points. That's crazy, but that means 2 rounds.
2 rounds.
So 2 judges had it 7-5.
Yep.
7 rounds for Haney, 5 rounds for Loma, which makes it a 2-point swing.
Dave had it 8-4 already.
Right, he had an 8-4.
On an 8-4 fight.
And the only way you get because there's no knockdowns, it's just a 1 point. So yeah. So if Moretti gets that round right, it's still a 1 point fight for Haney.
People are losing their minds.
Let me ask you this. Now, would there be such an issue if one of the judges had Lomachenko winning, and it was a split decision for
I think
Haney.
it would be less uproar. It's the
Yeah.
unanimous decision that people are upset about, and it's the Moretti scorecard, and it's the
So
10th round.
you use that word unanimous. So I have so many people like, well, it should have been at least in this. And I go, whoa, wait. Well, unanimous just means that the judges were all in agreement that who won the fight. They're not in agreement of the scorecard. Because you could have a fight where maybe two judges had Haney up 10 rounds to 2, and then one judge had Loma up 7 rounds to 5. Does that mean it's a closer fight because one of the judges saw it for him? Unanimous doesn't mean that the fight wasn't close. Unanimous just means that the judges all had the same guy winning.
I mean, there's a lot,
but it was very close, even on the official scorecards. Very, very close.
There's a lot of casual eyeballs on the sport. They don't really get deep into the weeds with scoring. They watch the fight and don't score at each round, and they go off of who they thought won. And a lot of people thought Lomachenko won, including Jean-Claude Van Damme and Nelly.
Well, there's too many feelings and emotions when it comes to these kinds of fights, and which I understand. Like there's a lot of that going into a fight, especially at this magnitude. But you can't score with that. You can't score with emotion. Anyone who says that one guy definitively won and it is a robbery is speaking emotion. The fight was just too close.
It was not a robbery.
In every round, it was so close.
It wasn't a robbery. I made a list of robberies. It got a shit ton of views, and people were arguing with me all night. Like robberies are Roy Jones' 1988 Summer Olympics final, and he outlanded the guy 86-32. Robberies are Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, which was ruled a draw, even though Lewis outlanded him by 218 punches. Pacquiao Bradley to a lesser degree. There's so many other ones where it's just so blatant. Those are robberies. 7-5 fights are not robberies.
Yeah, it's easy to go throw out that term, but that's boxing.
That's boxing for you. Let's move on to fights this weekend. A whole new batch of fights to dissect, to argue over, to go crazy about. Not as big as this past weekend, but it's a featherweight bonanza this weekend, Chris. Can you believe that Lara-Wood is getting back into the ring with Mauricio Lara just 3 months after getting iced, and just a previous maybe 6 months before that went down hard against Conlan? I'm shocked. I'm happy because I want to watch the fight, but I can't believe it's only been 3 months.
Yeah, I think with Wood, and this is something you and I learned last time we were talking about him. He's older than we thought. He's been around for a long time, but now he's actually in the mainstream. I don't think he has that much time, so they're trying to maximize what they can out of him right now, which makes sense and is good for us because we're getting great fights. Mm-hmm. And he was doing really well in that fight with Lara the first time. So, did he see opportunities that he could take advantage of? Lara was seeming like he was starting to get tired in that fight, and then came on and landed a hellacious shot. Is this one going to be different? I mean, I don't really think so.
So I'm betting hard on Lara knockout.
Yeah, I think Lara's a really, really bad dude, and he's going to be around for a while. He fights. I mean, the way he fights, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and the guy has heavy hands, and he brings it. But yeah, I mean, Wood can punch too, man. Wood's got a good right hand.
Does. He was winning the fight
too. He was very much in that fight. So maybe they see something. Maybe they see it. Like there's something that they could have capitalized on and they didn't the first time, or maybe they're just looking at how I said initially. It's like, yeah, he's a little bit older. This is the time to go for it.
He's 34. Who knows if he'll get another chance, but I think he would get another chance. Like if Lara fought Warrington and Eddie Herman's like, don't worry, Lee, we'll get you back in there in 6 months from now so you can recover from these brutal fights you've been in. That would have made sense, but he's decided to go through with it and should be a good fight. He was winning up on a lot of the cards in the first fight before he got caught. I think it's just too quick of a turnaround. I'm taking Lara by knockout. Same day, around the same time, over on ESPN Plus, our friend Mick Conlan is going for a world title again, IBF title that belongs to Luis Alberto Lopez. Lopez beat Warrington. Conlan has put together some nice performances since that Wood loss. Like this fight, it's another chance for Conlan to get that world title. Lopez is another chance for him to get closer to a unification bout. Like this fight too.
Yeah, I've had the chance to call a bunch of Lopez's fights. He fought in the bubble with Top Rank. He upset a bunch of guys. He pretty much always comes in as the B side and then comes out with these spectacular performances. He's an excellent fighter. Actually, I believe he was a soccer player, which you can see from his footwork a lot. He's very, very mobile. He's very explosive. His change of direction is really, really good. Tough fight for Mick, but I mean, listen, I'm a big fan of the way Mick fights. He'll fight anybody. I love guys who have that attitude. He's super tough and very talented, but I mean, Lopez is he's just one of those guys, man. I think he's going to give everybody trouble.
It's feisty.
And he's feisty. That's good. That's a good way to put it. Very, very good term to describe him. Tough fight. I'm actually really looking forward to that one. It's gonna be a good afternoon.
Yeah, great fights in the featherweight division. I still think Robesi Ramirez is the best featherweight in the world. I probably have Lara too. If you're looking to get these belts consolidated, the best chance for unification would probably be the Lopez Conlan winner versus Rebesi, who fights under Top Rank. Conlan's with Top Rank. Lopez, I think, is with ESPN or Top Rank or something. Lara-Wood, that's going to stay in Matchroom World. Warrington seems to be like to get the winner of Lara-Wood, even though he doesn't deserve it. Then you got guys like Brandon Figueroa on the outside looking in. He's like odd man out with PBC. Ray
Still a very good
Vargas.
fighter.
Ray Vargas is a champion. Is a featherweight champion with WBC.
Yeah, coming back down from that loss because that Shaki Foster fight was at 130, so he can move back down to 126 and he's got his title. Ray Vargas is still there. He's still lurking.
He's a lurker. He looks like a lurker. No offense.
Yeah, that's why I said it.
We end the show.
6 foot 126 pounder.
He's a lurker. Like I lurks. We end the show with a ridiculous story. Andy Ruiz. You saw this. His Twitter account was hacked. And it was 4 slides. One says, I love smoking weed all day long. I love purchasing prostitutes. And I also love getting blood infusions to get all the steroids out of my bloodstream. This tweet stayed up there for a while. It was up there for like 3-4 hours. It turns out that it was an ex of his. I know he's going through a pretty nasty separation. I don't know if they're married or not. I know there's a kid involved. This is nuts. This is crazy. Like, those are some serious allegations. Like, the weed, fine.
Yeah.
Prostitutes, not fine. The blood transfusions, is that even a thing? Like, what's going on with Andy Ruiz? Guys, it's a mess, his personal life.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak to any of that. It's all personal stuff, and obviously it's a scorned ex. So, I mean, what can you really say about that? It's out there. But yes, but blood transfusions is the thing. Yeah, I don't know if you remember from the Lance Armstrong days. That was one of the ways they used to cover up his drug use. But that's regardless. Back to the original.
Well, there is
topic.
A picture of him with 2 giant bags of weed, so he can't deny that.
Yeah, but that's legal in was every state. It's
right.
legal now. So,
I feel like every fighter should smoke. Like, I don't care about that. That's the least of these allegations. There also is a sex tape floating around, says Andy Ruiz.
That's from Andy saying that?
He said, he's like, I feel like he's getting in front of it.
Yeah, smart.
For lack of better term. He says there might be a sex tape floating out there. I might have committed some light treason. He's just like, hey, just want to let you know, you might be seeing my giant body and my tattooed ass cheeks on the internet soon.
God bless. Well,
boxing, baby.
What's that saying? There's nothing, no woman scorn.
I say, hell hath no fury like a scorned lover.
Hell hath no floor. Yeah, that's it. Oof.
How did she get his
tough.
Twitter? Like, not that I think this would ever happen to me, but like, change your passwords.
I mean, maybe he's got an easy one. Maybe it's like Ruiz 1 2 3.
Oh my God! The quote tweets on that tweet that stayed up for heurs. Someone said passwords were tacos 1 2 3. It is unbelievable. I honestly he's a good dude, Andy Ruiz, but like, damn, that's some big allegations. Like,
good dude, talented fighter. I mean,
get in the ring.
Let's hope most of that's not true. And
get in the ring, man.
Just chalk it up to a really angry ex.
Get in the ring. I know Fury says that Ruiz priced himself out. He hasn't fought since September of not even last year, 2021.
What happened to him and Wilder? I thought that was
gone.
Close.
Kaput. He's no longer a PBC, Ruiz.
I thought that was a great fight.
I thought that was a home run of a fight.
I like that fight a lot.
I thought that fight was just, it almost made too much sense. Like, I feel like PBC was like praying for that to happen, and it finally is right in front of us. Heavyweights, I mean, we're having such a great year in boxing, and there hasn't been one significant heavyweight fight in the first 6 months. If you count Joyce Sang, that's significant.
Which is crazy because we've had a great first half of this year, and the strength that is on non-heavyweights.
Non-heavyweights.
Good for the health of boxing.
Yes, non-heavyweights, no Spence, no Crawford, one Canelo fight that no one cared about. And the sport is still doing well because I tell you, 135 to 140 is carrying the sport right now.
And I mean, again, they're all young guys too. So that's another really good, aspect of this. We have young fighters who are fighting each other that are garnering a lot of respect from the fans. So boxing is alive and well. It's a shame talking about this fight because now everyone's talking about controversy and robbery. But like, it was a great fight with great, a great matchup. Boxing, man, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back always, or 1 step forward, 2 steps
I don't
back,
know.
depending how you look at it. But
I think there's a lot of interest in these guys, and I think the scoring obviously will simmer down. Cooler heads will prevail. Sport will go on. We will go on. We will have shows for you. I'm heading down to Orlando to call a fight for Jake Paul's MVP Prospect Series.
nice.
Getting my suit on, and I'm heading down to your area of Florida. Should be a fun weekend. Should be a fun weekend of fights. Check them out over on DAZN and ESPN Plus. As always,
roll up. I'm going to have to roll up on you guys.
Yo, show up. Caribe Royale. Friday night.
This Friday?
Yeah, Caribe Royale in Orlando.
Up on Orlando.
Show up, bro. You can bunk up with me.
I'm gonna. I can afford a hotel room.
Okay,
thanks.
all right. Doing good.
But yeah, that's you know what? I'm gonna leave that open ended.
Nice. I would like to hang out with you.
I'm not saying I'm not there. I'm not saying I'm not gonna
Me, you, Jake Paul, getting drinks, toasting to the good life. Let's go, bitches. All right. Protect yourselves at all times. Keep your hands up at all times. Change your Twitter password right now. We're out.